Chicago drill icon King Von built one of the most controversial legacies in modern hip-hop, with his name still sparking debate years after his death. Long before platinum records and sold-out shows, Von's reputation on the streets of Chicago became the subject of countless stories shared by rivals, friends, and former associates. In a series of interviews across platforms like DJ Vlad, Kem Capone News, DJU TV, and Say Cheese, individuals who claim to have crossed paths with Von describe encounters they say changed their lives forever. Their accounts range from violent confrontations and narrow escapes to moments that reveal the harsh reality of Chicago's long-running gang conflicts. While many of these stories remain disputed and should be viewed as personal recollections rather than verified facts, they continue to fuel discussions throughout the rap community. Supporters argue that Von's music reflected the environment he grew up in, while critics believe his reputation became inseparable from the violence surrounding his life and career. The result is a legacy that remains both influential and deeply controversial. In today's Rap News Breakdown, we're examining some of the most talked about survivor stories connected to King Von, separating documented events from personal testimony and exploring how these interviews have shaped the public perception of one of drill music's most polarizing figures. From emotional interviews with rivals to first-hand accounts from people who say they witnessed key moments in Chicago's street history, here's a closer look at the stories that continue to keep King Von's name at the center of hip-hop conversation. King Von's name continues to spark debate across the rap world, years after his death. To some fans, he was one of drill music's greatest storytellers, an artist who turned painful experiences into vivid lyrics that captivated millions. To others, his legacy remains tied to the violent reputation that followed him long before he ever stepped into a recording studio. That reputation has become the focus of countless interviews, documentaries, and online discussions, with former rivals, friends, and witnesses sharing stories about encounters they say they had with the Chicago rapper. While many of these accounts have never been independently verified and should be understood as personal recollections, they have played a major role in shaping the public image of King Von. Today, we are taking a closer look at some of the most talked about survivor stories connected to his name, examining what people have claimed happened and why these stories continue to generate headlines throughout the hip-hop community. One of the most emotional stories comes from FBG Butter, who has spoken publicly several times about a tragic shooting that changed his life forever. During interviews, Butter recalled being with his close friend and fellow STL member KI when gunfire suddenly erupted. Butter has claimed that he survived after being struck in the leg, while KI was fatally wounded during the attack. According to his account, everything happened so quickly that survival became his only focus. Rather than looking back, he said he was desperately trying to escape the gunfire and only realized the full extent of the tragedy moments later. Butter has described the event as one of the darkest moments of his life, explaining that the memories have never truly left him. Over the years, he has openly discussed the emotional scars left behind by that day, making it one of the most widely shared survivor stories connected to the long-running conflict between Chicago's rival neighborhoods. Butter has also spoken candidly about how he reacted when news broke that King Von had been killed in Atlanta in November 2020. In one interview, he admitted that he felt relief after hearing the news, explaining that years of conflict had shaped his emotions. At the same time, he acknowledged the complicated nature of those feelings, saying that despite everything that had happened, there was still a strange sense of familiarity between longtime rivals who had spent years on opposite sides of the same conflict. His comments quickly spread across social media, with some viewers criticizing his honesty while others argued that his reaction reflected the harsh reality of Chicago's street culture. The interview became one of the most discussed conversations about King Von's legacy because it highlighted how deeply personal these rivalries had become for the people directly involved. Another widely discussed account comes from Trench News, who has shared his memories of the same tragic day involving KI. According to his version of events, he claimed that he spotted King Von and several associates shortly before the shooting took place. He said he immediately tried to warn people nearby after recognizing them, believing violence was about to erupt. Moments later, he says gunfire broke out, leaving KI critically injured. Trench News recalled rushing to her side after the shooting, describing a heartbreaking scene that has stayed with him ever since. He has repeatedly said that the memory remains painful years later and that it continues to affect him whenever he reflects on that day. His account has become another important piece of the larger narrative surrounding the rivalry between O Block and STL, although, like many similar stories, it represents one person's recollection rather than independently confirmed fact. Trench News has also claimed that he personally avoided becoming a victim on several occasions because King Von recognized him from earlier years. According to his interviews, he believes Vaughn deliberately chose not to harm him despite having opportunities to do so. Whether or not those claims can be verified, they have added another layer to the mythology surrounding King Vaughn's reputation on Chicago's South Side. Stories like these continue to circulate because they paint a picture of a complex figure whose life has been interpreted in dramatically different ways depending on who is telling the story. Some describe him as fiercely loyal to those close to him, while others remember him as one of the most feared individuals in Chicago's gang conflicts. Those sharply opposing perspectives remain at the center of discussions about King Vaughn, ensuring that every interview, every recollection, and every newly surfaced story continues to attract attention from rap fans around the world. As the stories surrounding King Vaughn continued to spread, another name frequently appeared in conversations about his past: FBG Wooski. One incident that has been discussed by both sides involved a confrontation near O Block that reportedly escalated into a physical fight before police intervened. Years later, people connected to the incident gave different versions of what happened, each claiming the encounter ended in their favor. Those conflicting accounts have become a recurring theme whenever people revisit Chicago's drill history. Because there is no universally accepted version of the event, the fight has become another example of how personal experiences, neighborhood loyalties, and years of rivalry can shape the way the same incident is remembered. Although the details remain disputed, the confrontation continues to be referenced whenever discussions turn to King Vaughn's reputation before his rise to rap stardom. Another story often mentioned involves an earlier encounter between King Vaughn and K.I., years before the fatal shooting that would later define much of their rivalry. According to accounts shared online and on social media, the two reportedly crossed paths on a Chicago train, where an argument turned into a physical altercation. Both sides later addressed the incident publicly, each describing the outcome from their own perspective. Supporters on both sides debated the exchange for years, and it became another chapter in the long-running feud between rival neighborhoods. Like many stories connected to Chicago's drill scene, the event has never stopped generating discussion because it illustrates how personal conflicts often grew into larger neighborhood disputes that extended far beyond the individuals directly involved. Another interview that attracted significant attention came from FBG Butter, who described an incident from their school days. According to Butter, he and several others confronted King Vaughn on a school bus, and the situation quickly escalated into a violent fight. Butter claimed the confrontation became so intense that people outside the bus attempted to pull Vaughn off, while others intervened before the situation became even more serious. As with many of these stories, the account represents one person's recollection of events rather than independently confirmed fact. Nevertheless, the interview gained millions of views because it offered another glimpse into the turbulent environment many future drill artists experienced long before they became nationally recognized musicians. One of the most dramatic stories discussed in interviews involves FBG Young, who recalled a frightening moment at the home of Kayla B., King Vaughn's sister. According to Young's account, he had been visiting when he began to suspect something was wrong after noticing unusual behavior. He later claimed that someone at the door announced themselves, and he realized King Vaughn and several associates were outside. Young described feeling trapped inside the apartment without an easy escape route, believing the situation could become deadly within seconds. He has said that he prepared to defend himself if necessary, but the encounter ultimately ended without violence. His recollection has become one of the most talked about survivor stories because of how close he believed he came to a potentially fatal confrontation. Stories about King Vaughn have not been limited to incidents on the streets. Several interviews have also focused on his time while incarcerated. One frequently referenced account comes from 051 Stain, who discussed a fight that reportedly took place inside jail involving another inmate. According to Stain, King Vaughn stepped in to support a friend during the altercation, something Stain later said he respected because he believed Vaughn was standing by someone close to him. Although the fight itself has been described differently by various people over the years, the interview added another perspective to discussions about Vaughn's loyalty and willingness to support those within his circle, even while behind bars awaiting trial. Another former inmate, 051 Freaky, also shared his memories of meeting King Vaughn inside a holding area at the courthouse. Freaky claimed the encounter became tense after King Vaughn noticed a tattoo connected to one of Chicago's rival groups. Despite expecting trouble, Freaky later said the interaction unfolded differently than he had anticipated, though he maintained that the situation remained intimidating throughout. His interview quickly circulated across rap media because it reinforced the image many people already associated with King Vaughn, while also showing how even brief encounters could become memorable stories years later. Whether viewed as evidence of Vaughn's reputation or simply one individual's experience, the interview became another piece of the larger conversation surrounding his life. As more people continued to share their experiences, it became increasingly clear that King Vaughn's legacy extends far beyond his music. Every interview adds another perspective, but not every story can be independently verified, and many accounts conflict with one another in important ways. That is why separating documented events from personal testimony remains essential when examining his life. Even so, these recollections continue to shape public opinion, keeping King Vaughn at the center of conversations about drill music, Chicago street history, and the complicated relationship between artistic success and the realities that inspired many of his lyrics. One of the most widely discussed stories connected to King Vaughn involves Jarrow City Skinny, who became the center of attention after a video surfaced online showing a frightening encounter during an Instagram live session. According to people familiar with the incident, Skinny was speaking on camera when individuals believed to be connected to O Block suddenly appeared nearby. The video quickly spread across social media because viewers claimed it captured a real-life confrontation unfolding in real time. Later, several people associated with Chicago's drill scene commented on the incident during separate interviews and live streams, offering their own interpretations of what happened. Some claimed King Vaughn was directly involved, while others simply repeated what they had heard from people in the neighborhood. Because the footage never provided a complete picture of the encounter, many details remain disputed. Even so, the incident became another example of how quickly moments involving well-known figures from Chicago's drill culture could become viral topics across YouTube and social media. Another story frequently mentioned by people close to Chicago's rap scene involves Turn Up God. According to interviews from individuals who knew him, Turn Up God was reportedly sitting inside a vehicle with friends when gunfire suddenly erupted. Some people later suggested that King Vaughn may have been involved, although no independent evidence has confirmed those claims. During interviews, people who were present described the confusion that followed, explaining that the shooting happened so quickly there was little time to react. They recalled hearing shots before everyone scrambled for safety, unsure who was responsible. Those interviews have continued to circulate online because they reflect the uncertainty that often surrounds incidents connected to Chicago's long-standing neighborhood conflicts. Rather than offering definitive answers, the interviews reveal how rumors, assumptions, and first-hand memories often become intertwined over time. Several individuals who spoke about the incident also reflected on King Vaughn's reputation during that period of his life. They described him as someone who was widely respected by his own circle and feared by many rivals. At the same time, they acknowledged that stories passed through neighborhoods often became exaggerated as they spread from person to person. That distinction is important because reputation alone can influence how later events are remembered. Once someone develops a larger-than-life image, every rumor surrounding that person tends to attract more attention than it otherwise might. In King Vaughn's case, many interviews demonstrate how his name became attached to stories that continue to be debated years after his passing, making it difficult to separate documented facts from neighborhood folklore. Another account that has gained attention comes from rapper Munna Duke, who recalled an incident from their younger years involving a local high school. According to his interview, tensions between rival groups had been building when gunfire suddenly erupted near the school. Munna Duke claimed King Vaughn arrived to support friends during the confrontation before everyone quickly left the area. Although details surrounding the event remain limited, the story has become part of the broader narrative describing the dangerous environment many young people in Chicago faced during that era. Interviews like this provide context for the experiences that later influenced the lyrics of numerous drill artists, many of whom have said their music reflected real struggles growing up rather than fictional storytelling. Perhaps the most heartbreaking chapter in King Vaughn's story involves fellow Chicago rapper FBG Duck. The two artists became symbols of opposing sides in one of the city's most publicized neighborhood rivalries. Their music frequently referenced ongoing conflicts, and fans often debated the meaning behind lyrics aimed at rival groups. In August 2020, FBG Duck was fatally shot while shopping in downtown Chicago, a tragedy that shocked both the music industry and the local community. Federal prosecutors later alleged that members of O Block carried out the attack as retaliation connected to the ongoing feud, though individual criminal responsibility has been addressed through the legal process rather than public speculation. The loss of Duck had a devastating impact on his family, and interviews with his mother have highlighted the lasting pain caused by his death, especially for his children, who must grow up without their father. The final chapter in King Vaughn's life unfolded on November 6, 2020, outside an Atlanta nightclub. Surveillance video showed an altercation breaking out between King Von and rapper Quando Rondo before the situation escalated into gunfire. During later interviews, Quando Rondo described the incident as chaotic and traumatic, saying everything happened within seconds. His associate, Lil Tim, has also spoken publicly, explaining that he reacted because he believed someone close to him was in immediate danger. King Von was fatally wounded during the exchange, while several other people were injured. His death marked the end of one of drill music's most influential yet controversial careers, but it did not end the conversations surrounding his legacy. Years later, King Von remains one of the most discussed figures in modern hip-hop. His music continues to attract millions of listeners, while interviews from friends, rivals, and witnesses still generate headlines whenever they resurface online. Some people remember him primarily for his storytelling ability and rapid rise in the rap industry, while others focus on the violence associated with his past. Those competing perspectives explain why his legacy continues to inspire debate. The survivor stories connected to his name have become part of that larger conversation, reflecting not only the life of one artist but also the broader realities of Chicago's drill movement and the lasting consequences of neighborhood conflict. Even years after King Von's passing, new interviews continue to surface, keeping his name at the center of rap discussions. Every few months, another former rival, neighborhood resident, or longtime associate appears on a podcast or YouTube channel to share memories from Chicago's drill era. Some of these stories describe moments of friendship and loyalty, while others focus on dangerous encounters that allegedly took place long before King Von became a successful recording artist. Because these interviews often come from people with personal connections to the events, they naturally reflect individual perspectives. Some accounts agree with one another, while others contradict each other on important details. That has made King Von's story one of the most debated subjects in modern hip-hop, with fans constantly comparing interviews in an effort to determine which claims are supported by evidence and which remain unverified recollections. One reason these interviews attract so much attention is that they provide insight into the environment that shaped many Chicago drill artists. Throughout the early 2010s, neighborhood rivalries frequently spilled onto social media, where arguments that once stayed within local communities suddenly became visible to millions of people around the world. Music videos, live streams, and online posts transformed local conflicts into public conversations. As drill music gained popularity, fans became increasingly interested in the real-life stories behind the lyrics. This growing curiosity led interview platforms such as DJ Vlad, DJU TV, Kem Capone News, and Say Cheese to speak with people who claimed first-hand knowledge of the events. Their interviews helped create an enormous archive of personal testimony that continues to influence how fans view King Von and many of his contemporaries. At the same time, it is important to recognize the difference between storytelling and verified reporting. Many interviews are recorded years after the events they describe, meaning memories can change over time. Different witnesses often remember the same situation in completely different ways, especially when emotions, neighborhood loyalties, and personal experiences are involved. In some cases, interviewees openly disagree with one another, offering conflicting timelines or different explanations for the same incident. That does not necessarily mean someone is intentionally misleading the audience. Instead, it highlights the challenges of reconstructing events based primarily on personal recollections. For viewers, understanding that distinction is essential when evaluating stories connected to King Von or any other controversial public figure. Despite those uncertainties, there is little debate about King Von's impact on the music industry. His storytelling ability quickly separated him from many of his peers after signing with Lil Durk's Only the Family label. Songs such as Crazy Story introduced listeners to his vivid narrative style, while later projects expanded his audience beyond Chicago. Fans praised his ability to describe characters, settings, and emotions in a way that felt cinematic. Many artists have since cited his music as an influence on their own storytelling approach. Even people who criticize aspects of his legacy often acknowledge that his talent as a rapper helped redefine modern drill music and contributed to the genre's continued growth on a global scale. The continued fascination with survivor stories also reflects a broader trend within hip-hop media. Audiences are often drawn to interviews that promise behind-the-scenes details about famous artists, especially when those artists are no longer alive to share their own perspective. As a result, every new interview featuring someone connected to King Von generates widespread discussion across social media platforms. Clips are reposted, analyzed, and debated by fans, creating new conversations around events that may have occurred many years earlier. Sometimes these discussions help provide historical context, while other times they simply revive old rumors without offering additional evidence. That cycle has become a defining feature of online rap culture, where stories can continue evolving long after the original events have passed. For many people who lived through Chicago's most difficult years, however, these interviews represent something much more personal than entertainment. Behind every headline are families, friends, and neighborhoods that continue to deal with the lasting consequences of violence. Survivors often describe emotional trauma that extends far beyond the moments discussed in interviews, explaining how the loss of loved ones continues to affect their daily lives. Those personal experiences remind audiences that the stories surrounding King Von involve real people whose lives were permanently changed, regardless of how famous the individuals involved eventually became. Looking beyond the headlines helps provide a more complete understanding of the human cost behind the events that shaped Chicago's drill movement. King Von's legacy ultimately remains one of the most complex in modern rap. His music continues to reach new audiences, while interviews connected to his life keep generating millions of views across digital platforms. Admirers point to his remarkable storytelling ability and rapid rise in the music industry, while critics focus on the controversies and allegations that have long surrounded his name. The survivor stories discussed over the years have become a significant part of that legacy, not because every claim has been proven, but because they illustrate how deeply King Von's life continues to resonate within hip-hop culture. As more voices contribute their memories and perspectives, the conversation surrounding his career is likely to continue, ensuring that his influence on rap music and the debates surrounding his life remain active for years to come. That wraps up today's breakdown of the most talked about survivor stories connected to King Von. As always, many of these accounts come from interviews and personal recollections, meaning some details remain disputed while others continue to be debated within the hip-hop community. Whether you view these stories as important pieces of drill music history or simply as first-hand perspectives from people who lived through that era, one thing is certain: King Von's life and legacy continue to spark conversation years after his passing. Now it's your turn to join the discussion. Which story stood out to you the most? Was there an interview or perspective that you think deserves more attention? Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments below, and let us know which rap news topic you want us to cover next. If you enjoyed this video and want more in-depth coverage of the biggest stories in hip-hop, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. We bring you the latest rap news, artist updates, industry drama, exclusive interview breakdowns, and deep dives into the stories shaping today's hip-hop culture. Thank you for watching and supporting the channel. Your likes, comments, and shares help us continue creating high-quality rap content for fans around the world. Stay safe, stay informed, and remember to separate verified facts from personal opinions whenever discussing sensitive topics like these. Until next time, keep it locked right here for more breaking rap news, exclusive hip-hop stories, and detailed coverage of the artists and moments everyone is talking about. We'll see you in the next video.